Good Girl, Exploit World presents Vinessa Jill Zendelle's Hood, Season 1, Episode 1. One day, a 6-year-old girl named Vinessa was in her bedroom drawing and reading. When Vinessa was finished with her drawing, she wanted to show it to her mommy. She went to her bedroom bathroom, and that is when she accidentally saw her naked when coming out from the shower. This disgusted Vinessa in a cloying manner, and walks off. Vinessa was disappointed, because she loves her mom. And she remembers the first time she saw her face when she opened her eyes when she was a baby, and her mother waiting for her to be the first human she sees, and that was her mother. Vinessa loves her that way, and she loves the facade of her face more than any other ugly and hedonistic people in the dangerous world she is in. Vinessa was mad about what she saw, because she was hungry and wanted to eat, but now that she saw her mother naked, she already lost her appetite. Her mom later came into her room and said sorry about what she saw, but Vinessa was still grossed out. She then said that breasts are disgusting. Sometime later, Vinessa's mom was hanging out with her friends in the backyard. Vinessa decides to go walk and play outside riding her bike. Her mom has never cared if she goes out by herself, so Vinessa decides to go out to explore the world. Vinessa has fears of flying, heights, clowns, intimacy, driving, and snakes. She was always scared of going out. She also has fears of terrorist attacks, spiders, death, failure, war, criminal gang violence, and nuclear wars. Anyways, as Vinessa bikes around the streets in her neighborhood, she finds broken and poorly built houses and residents. Along the way, she finds people fighting, some people smoking cigarettes, people killing, people having sex, drug dealers, and other vulgar stuff. This seems to scare Vinessa, but she still wants to keep riding her bike around the city, so she goes further and further. As Vinessa was having fun riding her bike, there was a sudden shootout happening in the road Vinessa was near. Vinessa was accidentally shot in the shoulder, but it didn't really injure her all that much. Vinessa got out of the scene, which left one person dead. Another sudden incident happened minutes later. When Vinessa was riding her bike, and there were two people fighting in an apartment building, and one of them smashed the window by throwing a TV out through the window, breaking the glass. This injured Vinessa a little bit, but she was still not that hurt. Vinessa continued to ride her bike when she wanted to eat something. Vinessa did not care if she wasn't really hungry, she still wanted to eat something anyways. She went to a bar where there were many random people hanging out. Vinessa is confused by the contradictory and hypocritical behavior of everyone around her, making her the only isolated person from the world's independence. Vinessa was looking for food, and she found a quarter on one of the tables. She went to grab it, but when she did, a man caught her and told her to give it back because it was his. Vinessa said that she got it first, and that she was hungry. Out of the blue, some other guy came in the scene to comfort Vinessa. The guy talked sense to the man, and got Vinessa some pizza, and also gave her some candy. The guy who gave Vinessa pizza must have not known that the pizza was very spicy and hot. Because when Vinessa took 2 bites out of it, her mouth started getting hot and her mouth even started bleeding. Vinessa started coughing out blood at the back alley of the bar. Vinessa took a piece of the spicy pizza to give it to some little mouses. The more Vinessa rode her bike further, the more she realizes how fucked up her human settlement is. She saw many people messing around with actual weapons, drug dealing, trafficking, strangers all over the place, idiots in cars, and people having sex. The city Vinessa was in seemed more hellish and dangerous than Detroit. Vinessa then comes across a park full of kids her age. She tries to fit in with them, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. She saw some kids playing hide and seek, but was afraid to ask if she could play with them. When she went near kids playing tetherball, one of the kids accidentally hit the ball, and the ball hit Vinessa in the face. Vinessa is afraid of going near tetherballs, so she stood back so she wouldn't get hit. Vinessa decided to go to the swings and swung for a while until she noticed there were some other kids waiting. Vinessa got off the swings to play in the seesaw with another kid. She and the other kid started playing, but Vinessa got bored and got off the seesaw and started to walk for a while. She then got tired and sat on a bench to eat the candy that she was given. But seconds later, some boy came up to her and asked if he could have some candy. Vinessa didn't want to be rude, so she gave the boy a candy. Eventually, 2 more kids came up to her and asked if they could have candy too. Vinessa ended up giving all her candy to them, and she had nothing else to eat. Vinessa was left grumpy, and decided to go ride her bike. But as she was walking, a kid playing with a toy car ran over Vinessa, causing her to get rolled under the toy car. This angers Vinessa and she goes to ride her bike along the city in guilt. When she got on her bike, some kid who was playing basketball accidentally kicked a ball, making the ball hit Vinessa's stomach. This made Vinessa's stomach hurt, and she needed to take a shit. She went to a back alley of a building, and took a shit inside a dumpster trash can. When she was done, she continued to ride her bike. For a few minutes, Vinessa was riding her bike when a man came out from nowhere and caught her. The strange man starts walking towards Vinessa and tells her that he has candy. Vinessa is confused about what the strange man is doing, but then the man starts touching Vinessa's body, and groping her in an inappropriate way. Vinessa is scared out of her mind and wants to go home, but the strange man won't let her go. The man starts kissing and licking Vinessa, then tries to rape her. When the strange man puts his phallus in Vinessa's anus, he starts forcing himself on her until he realizes he has shit all over his penis. This angrily disgusts the man enough for him to leave with his penis covered in Vinessa's waist. After the horrific incident, Vinessa runs back home sobbing, and she leaves her bike on the sidewalk because she was not in the mood to ride her bike back home after what happened to her. When Vinessa gets home, she goes to her room crying about what the strange man did to her. Vinessa's mom didn't even pay attention to what was going on with her. In fact, her mom and her relatives were still hanging around with each other. Vinessa was very sober at this point. She felt like her mom hated her, and Vinessa tried everything to support herself, but in the end, everything around her was just flavorless. This past has given Vinessa agoraphobia. Years later, Vinessa is all grown up, and she is now an adult. She already had her one and only daughter, who she named Olivier. Olivier does not seem like a malicious kid. In fact, she was really nice to her mother and feels very jubilant and idyllic. Olivier learned to be kind to others, and she loves her mommy. Vinessa is always depressed and working too hard, but her daughter is the only person that keeps her happy. Every morning, her daughter starts waking her up for the day. Olivier's dad was doing fine as well, even before he flew to San Francisco. Before Vinessa had Olivier, Vinessa was hanging out with a guy named Dalvin. Vinessa and Dalvin met in a bar, and they started hanging out for a bit. Days after, Vinessa got pregnant, and she gave birth to Olivier 3 weeks after. As Olivier started growing up at an early age, her dad was too busy with other stuff. Eventually, her dad went to fly to San Francisco and salvage the city. Vinessa wasn't really bothered by the fact that her husband left her and their daughter, because she was still nervous about having one. At some point, a thought and realization popped up in Vinessa's mind. Olivier isn't her kid, and neither is her husband's. Vinessa is really careful of herself, her safety, and her daughter. She knows that Olivier is just a random human that she is taking care of. Vinessa loves Olivier, but does not want to change her beliefs and opinions, because Olivier is not her property, and Vinessa knows that she will grow up to make her own decisions. Olivier is not an opinionated person, and Vinessa thinks she will never be one. One day, Olivier was ready for school. Her mom Vinessa was hoping that she will behave during the school day. Olivier was at school and she was nice to every kid. When Olivier got back home from school, she seemed happy. Olivier didn't have any friends, but as long as she is happy like usual, everything for her will look fine. Vinessa was glad to see her daughter feeling great. It was like her and her mother against the world. Vinessa had moved to another city a year after she had Olivier. During that time, Vinessa moved from her childhood area, and moved to another area, in a city named Filnoia. She found out that the city was just as bad as her early area. This scares Vinessa for a while, but she realizes that as long as she keeps her daughter safe, everything for them will be fine. When Vinessa moved to another area, she bought a house that was located in a cul-de-sac street. When Vinessa was young, she lived in a cul-de-sac street. She likes those kinds of streets because it makes her feel safe, as if nothing can pass her street. And that she is able to watch every movement from the one vanishing point view, where she thinks she can prevent herself in a dead-end street. Vinessa knows that Filnoia is nothing but organized chaos. For one thing, there are many drug dealers out in the city. Vinessa does not understand how people get addicted to drugs like cocaine, pills, painkillers, and opioids. Vinessa is smart enough to know that painkillers kill people instead of so-called killing the pain. In fact, one afternoon, she saw a few men doing drugs out near her neighborhood. Vinessa found out her city was dangerous as hell, and it has many murder rates. Vinessa hates hedonistic people, and she also really hates communism. For now, Vinessa is trying to keep a low profile, and not have her daughter Olivia get involved into some serious conflict. Recently, Vinessa had maturely bought a gun from a Luger department to buy an improved Luger gun. Someone once tried to break into her house, but she did not have anything to defend Olivier, nor anything to offend the intruder. This was the moment Vinessa knew she needed a gun for her and her own daughter's own defense. It was like Vinessa and Olivier vs. the world. Vinessa still has Olivier fine even without her daughter's dad. One day, Vinessa was thinking of showing her daughter to her mom during Mother's Day, but her family was usually rude to her, even when she was little, and she was neglected. Vinessa went to her mom's house, and surprised her with her daughter. Vinessa's mom was judged about her having a kid, but Vinessa said she's happy about it. That day, Olivier gave her Mother's Day card to her, and her mom was happy. Vinessa didn't really want to expect a Mother's Day card every day, yet she was still happy about what her daughter made for her. During Olivier's school days, she was always nicer than most of the kids at her school. One day, Vinessa took her daughter to church, and she was taken to the kindergarten classroom in the church building. During that time, Olivier had fun with the kids at the church and did some activities. When Vinessa and her daughter got home, they played with each other. Vinessa, however, had to work, and she had her daughter play by herself after making her food. She later had Olivier read books to become more independent and smarter. Olivier even got interested in reading and read many books she loved. That night, Olivier wanted to do her nighttime routine, and later went to sleep. Olivier was not aware of bedtime stories, and by that point, her mom, Vinessa, was already tired from working all day. At the end of the day, Olivier slept as her mom watched her fell into a deep night's sleep. The end.